Assalamualaikum dan selamat petang. Sekali lagi kita bersama di dalam sesi Sembang Petang bersama Pakcik Bawang. Hari ini saya bawakan special daripada Fakulti Farmasi, fakulti yang termuda dalam Universiti Malaya. Dan bersama kita ada Dr. Amira Hajirah. Bidang beliau saya kira sangat wow kan. Kalau kita selalu dengar bidang farmasi ni maybe mengenai ubat, menjadi ahli farmasi, jual ubat kuat, mungkinlah saya tak tahu. Tapi hari ini Dr. Amira akan berkongsi dengan kita bidang penyelidikan beliau yang saya kira sangat penting dalam sumbangannya kepada penyelidikan negara lah. So why not kita kenal sikit about siapa sebenarnya seketul Dr. Amira?
Seketul Dr. Amira.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you for having me here. Siapa Dr. Amira?
Betul.
I am a pharmacist by profession, as you have previously mentioned in your introduction. But to share with you my journey a little bit, so I was actually born in Japan. My parents are from Terengganu. So growing up, we traveled quite a bit. So after being born in Japan, I came back when I was 1, and then I was in Terengganu for quite a while. And when I was 11 years old, my dad was also a scientist, so he traveled to Cardiff to do his PhD. So I was there until I was about 16. I came back and I went to a pharmacy school in UIA. Then after that, I worked as a pharmacist in training for 1 year in Hospital Ampang. Only then I considered about doing my postgraduate study.
Okay.
Then I continued on to do my PhD at the University of Oxford. And then here I am.
Oxford. My dream to go there. So maybe you boleh sambung sikit dengan apa sebenarnya bidang yang you buat tu?
Apa bidang?
Sama tak dengan your PhD? Kalau sama, cerita sikit yang PhD tu.
Sekarang ni. So as I mentioned, I'm a pharmacist by training. So bila kita cakap pasal bidang pharmacy ni, it's quite diverse. Okay, pharmacy is the art and science of preparing, discovering, and giving medicine to patient.
Okay.
So as a pharmacist, you have a diverse career path, but when you are doing research, pharmaceutical science is also a very large field. So in a way that, yes, my research is very much related to my training, which is a pharmacist, but the field is related to more related to pharmaceutical science, and also quite related to the field of medicine, where I understand the abnormality in metabolic pathway, in the pathogenesis of non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular diseases and cancer. So when I was in Oxford, I was trying to understand how abnormal metabolism can contribute to heart diseases. So
macam kita biasa tahu, cardiovascular disease normally is caused by smoking, unhealthy lifestyle. So now what you're saying is dia berkait dengan benda kita makan.
Betul. So if I were to go back, so macam we just discussed just now, macam cardiovascular disease is related to a lot of our lifestyle habit.
Betul.
Our pemakanan, smoking and whatnot. So pemakanan, so when we eat and how our body convert what we eat in terms of food into energy is called the metabolic pathway. So in the general understanding is I'm trying to understand how the things that we eat can cause the changes in metabolism that can contribute to heart diseases. And what we eat means the three category of food that we eat is fat, sugar and protein. So when we eat these three food components, how does our body use it? And if there is an abnormalities in how our body use it, how does this contribute to heart diseases? So specifically, I'm looking at what happens when you feed your heart too much fat. And how does heart disease develop when they have too much fat, especially when they don't have enough oxygen? Because as you know, as we age, bila kita dah tua, our oxygen delivery to the heart is limited. And then we are eating a lot of fatty food. Does that make your heart function worsen? So that was my research topic when I was in Oxford.
Alright, okay. So apakah kepentingannya research ni? Maksud saya, we all know that macam kita, if we have unhealthy lifestyle, badan kita gemuk, obese dan sebagainya, memang berkait dengan cardiovascular disease already. So what you're saying is your research is trying to find a new connection between the metabolic disorder ni berkait pula dengan sakit jantung macam tu?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So yes, a lot is known about cardiovascular disease already.
Yeah.
So why should I understand metabolism? Would there be any translational impact? Okay. So when we study metabolism, when we understand how the disease develop, hopefully we can find a therapeutic target to slow down the progression of cardiovascular disease. And why cardiovascular disease?
You mean to cure cardiovascular disease?
Not completely cure, just slow the progression.
Slow the progression.
So if these abnormalities that I have identified, maybe we can discover a new drug target.
I see.
And we know that
Can that drug help people to kurus? Jadi kurus boleh tak?
Not per se, but it helps how your heart uses the energy that we eat more effectively.
Menarik. So, what is the status of your research now? Kat mana you dah sampai sekarang?
So, when I came back, I think one of the biggest challenge was trying to identify whether or not I can still carry on my PhD topic here, which can be quite challenging because the equipment that they were using when I was back in Oxford is very high tech. So at that point, it was quite challenging when I wanted to look for grants and to study metabolism. There is niche equipment that you need to use. So I tried many times to study metabolism in the heart, but I wasn't so successful in applying the grant. Then I still stick to the niche of metabolism, but it's largely also focus on how metabolism is abnormal and how it affects cancer progression. So I deviated a bit, because cancer is very current.
Cardiovascular disease is for your PhD, but now you are moving into cancer pula. Alamak, lagi seram lah. So what have you found? Ada relation ke?
Okay, so like you said, you are quite aware that when you talk about cardiovascular disease, it's related to obesity, what we eat, and especially high-fat diet, you know. With cancer, the relationship with obesity and fat and cancer is more newly established. So now I'm looking at the effect of how does obesity drives the progression of gynecological cancer, such as the cancer of the uterus, or we call it endometrial cancer. So I'm trying to understand, if you're obese and you have a lot of fat in your body, how does this affect your risk of getting cancer, number one? How does it affect the progression of cancer? And how does it affect your treatment if you're obese? So
this is new, New in the country or new in the world?
No, definitely not new in the world. It's an emerging topic. Emerging topic.
Coming to the word emerging itself, I was told that your department organizing something along these lines to, as a conference ke macam tu?
Correct.
Maybe you will share what the conference?
So I think when we talk about, like I just mentioned just now, metabolism is involved in many abnormalities, and metabolism is involved in many diseases. So we think it's such a relevant topic to talk about right now. So we are actually organizing a conference that is metabolism themed. So first time. So our faculty is the newest member of UM. So we are hosting the first international symposium of pharmacy research, but the theme is metabolism and its implication in disease and therapeutics. And there is a special guest or special keynote lecture for our conference. So we are having a Nobel laureate to speak at our conference. So this Nobel laureate is called Prof. Greg Semenza. So during my PhD, I read a lot of his work. So he basically discovered a protein that kind of control the metabolic pathway of cancer, so cancer can proliferate faster. So
certain cancer ke specific cancer?
Most cancer. So when cancer proliferate, dia tak kisah banyak oksigen ke sikit oksigen, it still can strive. So in a scientific term, we call it cancer can actually grow even when they are not supplied with enough oxygen. How does cancer do it? How are they able to proliferate? How can they produce energy to grow?
Research question.
How can cancer can just grow even without oxygen supply?
So this professor found?
The key is there is a metabolic gene called hypoxia-inducible factor. It's transcriptional factor which controls metabolism of glucose.
Okay.
And the metabolism of glucose does not need oxygen. So they keep using on glucose as a source of energy, so they just can really grow really fast and progress really
So
fast.
that's what that professor found
Yeah,
lah.
he discovered
And that's for it.
hypoxia-inducible factor. So he'll be giving a
Berbelit
special
lidah
talk.
nak sebut ni. Okay. I faham the konsep, tapi bila you cakap the term tu kadang nak belit
Yeah.
lidah saya nak sebut. Mungkin kena banyak makan keput lekor macam you ke? Ha?
Keput lekor.
Keput lekor.
No, keput lekor has a lot of MSG though,
Really?
walaupun sedap.
MSG ada kena dengan metabolic pathway ke
Yeah,
apa?
but
Dia
MSG
affect?
has a lot of salt.
Ah.
So it can affect your metabolism
Really?
to a certain degree. Yeah.
Saya rasa macam menarik. Saya nak jemput you untuk slot lain, tapi maybe topik yang a bit specific lah.
Boleh,
maybe
boleh.
on pemakanan.
Boleh.
And how, especially tadi yang relate to cancer tu. Saya
Yeah.
rasa pendedahan tu perlu for our public untuk tahu perkara-perkara itu.
Betul.
Alright, so soalan last saya selalunya sama saja. Ada kalau somebody out there yang mendengar apa yang you explain today, so what kind of things they can prepare untuk jadi seorang lagi Dr. Amira ni yang mungkin buat pendidikannya sama, berkecimpung dalam area yang you buat ni. Apakah persediaan yang nak dibuat? Contohnya budak sekolah.
I think first of all, passion is very important.
Passion, eh?
Yeah, passion. Passion-driven motivation is very important. Passion and motivation, I think, marries together, right? So you have to be passionate in what you do. You may not know what your passion is yet, but kind of preparing yourself, trying to establish a hobby. When you are studying in your secondary school, trying to know which topic you like the best, and you have to have like, I know for me, my passion was instigated by a mentor, which was my lecturer, and the topic that she was teaching. So I'm kind of knowing your passion is quite important to prepare yourself to the research world, because research can be quite hard. It can be quite overwhelming, the whole process.
Masa kecil memang nak jadi saintis ke?
Tak. When I came back, I was only 16 from when I was back from the UK, so I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. But pharmacy has always, I'm always curious about drugs. Kan you can expose macam bila you makan ubat, you're always curious. So how does it treat you? So I'm always that curious, and I always love biology. And when I was in pharmacy school, I always intrigued about the cardiovascular system. So that instilled my passion for doing the research that I'm in. Yeah.
Interesting. So that's all the time you have untuk sesi Sembang Petang sama Dr. Amira. Mungkin lain kali kita boleh jumpa lagi Dr. Amira dan bincang sembang pasal benda lain. Okay, for that, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you so much. Thank you.